Greetings, I'm Russ Esposito. For the last 2 years, I've given artificial intelligence lectures at the Zora Business School at HOFSTRA University. So I've taken those PowerPoints, put them together, updated them, and made a recording for this class. That said, let's proceed. So here are the things we'll cover in this presentation. We'll define what a neural network is. Some of you, I'm sure, have heard the term, but maybe wondering what does that mean exactly. We'll cover the AI platforms, the large platforms, the applications that leverage those platforms. We'll talk about, obviously, healthcare and some other industries, including the educational sector. And what does AI mean for research, whether it's in the university or corporations? What are some of the caveats? And some future possibilities for AI and some sort of maybe, I don't want to say warnings, but some proceed with caution concepts. All right, what is a neural network? A neural network mimics the human brain. And the neurons and synapses are replaced with nodes and connections. And these nodes and connections work in a way that is a series of connections. It's actually a bit of a black box. People don't, even our computer scientists who build these neural networks, don't fully understand how they get the results as the text as a query or the questions that go into the AI system. The response that comes out is a bit of a black box. We're still trying to figure out how these connections work between the nodes, why certain nodes light up and why these synapses happen and why we get the results we get. There's also a very interesting way in which neural networks evolve. They use sort of natural selection as well. So there'll be a number of neural networks that are working concurrently. And the successful ones, the ones that can figure out the best answer, the most accurate answer, the quickest, those genes, let's say, that's what it's sometimes called, those nodes and connections are used as parents for the next generation. So the most successful neural networks procreate more or less the subsequent generation. So it gets smarter and smarter. And then it's called actually NEAT, and I put an asterisk here. It's neuroevolution of augmenting topologies is what it's called. But NEAT is the algorithm that really allows for this natural selection and evolution. And then as things can become too complicated, there's another algorithm called reflection, and that simplifies neural networks that become a little too complex through this evolutionary process. There's also a randomness that's happening, right? I mean, yeah, to really have some change, you have to have some randomness. Even, in biology, right? The genes are not necessarily the exact replicas of the parents. There's some randomization so that there's some new genes that may discover a whole new function that's very useful, like the way we've probably evolved our opposable thumbs, right? Something happened to a gene that was a little bit random that allowed for that digit to move in a different way. And obviously that became a very successful, useful function, and we've evolved with an opposable thumb. So we talked a little bit about in the previous slide how neural networks evolve, and let's talk about different platforms, right? So ChatGPT uses GPT-4 now, and in a very short amount of time, from maybe a little bit over a year, we went from a GPT-3 engine to a GPT-4 engine. And just to give you a sense of what that's like in terms of the capability, the number of parameters for GPT-3, this little green arrow points to a very small little white dot. That is a representation of the number of parameters in GPT-3. There's a large circle here with the blue arrow pointing to it. That's the number of parameters in GPT-4. So you can see what a quantum difference. This is a huge, vast difference in terms of capability just between GPT-3 and GPT-4. Now, GPT stands for Generative Pre-trained Transformers. And transformers really just take data and assemble it and try to sort of create an answer based on all the information it has. There are a lot of scientists who believe that the transformer technology may not really get us to complete artificial general intelligence. Some may argue we've come pretty close to artificial general intelligence. We certainly haven't come to reach artificial superintelligence, but there are some scientists working on a completely different platform that's not a transformer platform, not a GPT platform, something very different. We'll see how that evolves. Well, we just saw a graphic representation of a little small white dot and a large white dot to compare the difference between GPT-3 and GPT-3, the platform, and GPT-4. So Microsoft did some testing, and just to give you a quick example of the difference, what that means when you see all those other parameters in the previous slide, they gave both systems this question: I have a book, 9 eggs, a laptop, a bottle, and a nail. Tell me how best to stack them in a stable manner. And GPT-3, really doesn't understand what things are. It said place the eggs on top of the nail, making sure they're balanced. So it may have a definition for nail, but it doesn't really understand what a nail is and the characteristics of it and what it might mean and how it's used. What it might mean to stack an egg on top of the nail. GPT-4 was, much smarter about it, really much more logical, seems to have a better understanding of what a nail is. It says arrange the 9 eggs in a 3x3 square on top of the book, leaving some space. So it's obviously getting a little smarter in terms of the meaning of what a nail is and the meaning of what these different items are. Now, as I said earlier, these AI systems we don't really understand exactly how they work. But what we do know is they hallucinate. You may have heard that term. They make up answers. They hallucinate things. They give, in some cases, there were some researchers doing using AI for researching the biographies of certain people. It was giving them PhDs they didn't have. So it just sort of makes up answers instead of doesn't really have a fail-safe way of saying, I don't really know. And in this case, this is a math problem and hallucinated a completely wrong answer. So it came up with there was a mathematical problem. Again, Microsoft is testing these systems. This is GPT-4 even. Gave it some basic math. It came up with the wrong answer of 120. And when it was challenged on it, so it hallucinated this wrong number somehow. When it was challenged on it, it said, I'm sorry, that was a typo. The correct answer is 92. Now, typo, obviously, AI is not typing anything, right? There's no physical typo. There's no fact figuring anything here in an AI system. So it learned from humans, I suppose, that they use typo as an excuse. So is AI lying? I'm not sure if it's lying, but it's obviously making things up. And there were lots and lots of scenarios where you could, see how it hallucinates things. And as you work with AI yourself, you have to be careful. You could use a few different platforms to really drill into some of the answers with your own internet searches to really understand if it's giving you the right answer. All right, let's look at the major platforms. And the 3 major platforms are OpenAI. OpenAI is partially owned by Microsoft now. Microsoft has heavily invested in OpenAI, and OpenAI is becoming their Microsoft's search engine. AI platform. Google Gemini. Gemini is the product that Google is using for AI, and these are free, obviously, to use, and also not free. X, which used to be Twitter, X Grok, sometimes it's called. That's the AI engine that is being developed by Elon Musk, with a number of his other companies, so many other companies he has that are sort of bleeding edge or leading edge technologies. So I put some graphics here on the right-hand side just to sort of help. Copilot is a term that Microsoft is using because they're embedding OpenAI in their products, in their Office suite products, Excel and Word. That'll be happening more and more. So you're going to see the term Copilot associated with Microsoft more so than the term OpenAI. Although OpenAI is the engine, is the technology from OpenAI is what's supporting Copilot. And OpenAI has created Codex. Codex is a way that the AI can actually write programs. You give it some text, some information about what you want programmed, and it'll program it in many different languages depending on what you ask it. And DALL-E 3 is the new text to image, where you put in some text. You may have seen this, and it creates images from the text. Really kind of interesting stuff. So those are the 3 big platforms right now. OpenAI / Microsoft with Microsoft's Copilot, Google Gemini, and X Grok. There are other interesting products that I even put on my phone because I like them. Venice AI and Perplexity AI. They're really good. So, as I mentioned earlier, these systems don't sometimes give you the right answer. They do hallucinate. And if you're looking for something a little esoteric, it may not be giving you the right answer. You can try a few different platforms. If you put them on your phone, you can do some research, on the go, so to speak. So those are the Venice and Perplexity. I'm not sure if they have their own AI engine or they're leveraging one of these, other engines from either Google or Microsoft or Elon's Grok. But they are nice products that work with I'm not sure if they have Android version. They probably do. I have a Apple phone, and I know they have Apple versions that work really well. So that's said for the major platforms. There'll be others on the horizon, Amazon, IBM, Baidu, and China, and others. And then we'll look at some of the APIs, the application program interfaces. If you haven't heard the term API yet, we'll be hearing it again in this class later on, but it stands for Application Program Interface. and it's really a built-in interface. So there are companies that have ideas, whether it's chemistry or real estate, or it could be a multitude of different things, or education platforms that are going to use these engines and build specific applications above them. So let's look at what's happening in some of these areas. Okay, let's look at some of the applications now. Let's start with healthcare in the top left-hand corner up here. So you see Microsoft, as we said earlier, partnered with Openai for artificial intelligence, and they have an agreement with Epic to bring artificial intelligence into Epic. And they want to use Microsoft's Azure cloud, their cloud technology is called Azure, to actually platform Epic. So all the data will be stored on Azure, Microsoft's cloud. And Fabric is their new sort of platform for all of the data analytics. So that's what that green F looks like right next to Azure. So between Azure and Fabric, there'll be tools, really very powerful platforms to host all the data in Epic and to assess that data and to support advanced clinical notes, maybe in the future help with diagnoses as well, and to look at the analysis for patient outcomes. So it's pretty exciting. There's a lot going on with healthcare on that side of the spectrum with AI and Microsoft. If we go down, I have here just a little reminder that Microsoft 365 Copilot, that's the term for AI that they'll be embedding in their Word, PowerPoint, Excel. So they'll be able to ask AI questions within those Microsoft platforms. It's pretty incredible. And they also have been working on a visual ChatGPT. Essentially, they could feed an image into AI, like this image of balloons being held down by a heavy anvil, a steel anvil, and they asked the AI system, if we cut the cord to the balloons, what would happen? And the AI answered, the balloons would fly away. So it's beginning to even assess and analyze images now. So that's the Microsoft side of the picture over here on that side of the left-hand side of the screen. On the right-hand side of the screen, I'm going to create a PDF for this as well, so you don't have to type these links that you see. But some of the most amazing things are Suno, and here's a link for Suno.com. And Suno creates music, writes music, instrumentals, as long as vocals, and it sounds pretty real. I mean, it's pretty amazing. You might want to take a look at it. Sort of outside the scope of this video. I don't want this video to go on forever. And then there's Openai Sora. Sora is even more mind-blowing. Sora, it's text to video, not text to image. You've probably seen put in some text and you get an image. Put in text and you get videos. I highly recommend you look at these two links. Really pretty impressive what you see there. And it brings us to and NVIDIA also has, they're introducing text to video as well. We'll see what they have to offer. Now this brings us to the red box deepfakes. The industry may need digital signatures for audio, pics, and video. We're going to have some way to identify what's real and not real. I upload a lot to YouTube. I noticed YouTube now is asking a question. Is this video something that is a manipulated image of someone else who didn't really say or do the things that appear in this video? Of course, someone could check no to that and still have a deep fake, but they're beginning to try to consciously have an effort to identify deep fakes. But we need something more like, something more digital that's embedded with the video and the images. And voice we'll see in the next page as well. The bottom right, just a couple of interesting things. Adobe has a couple of products to enhance podcasting. And Tome is an interesting product that helps quickly develop presentations, not in the PowerPoint format, but something similar PowerPoint kind of format called Tome. And I put in one paragraph about AI and healthcare, and it gave me created some images which were a little too cartoonish for me, and very, very, very high level AI and healthcare, how they might work together. But I found it kind of lacking in detail, but maybe it'll develop as time goes on. Okay, voice AI. There, on that side of the screen. Voice AI, back to digital fakes. I mean, this is a system that can make you record text or record a voice and change it into a celebrity or some other, personality that's in their database. So that's sort of an issue, obviously. But you might try it out. There's some free testing you can do with that as well. On the right-hand side, we've got 11 labs. You put text in. It gives you a nice, if you need an introduction to a video or something, or some presentation, you could have someone else do the introductions, which I've done for certain presentations as well. I have 11 labs. I've typed in some introductory information. 11 labs. I pick a voice, male, female, whatever, or different tonalities, and I can have that introduce staff. On the bottom left, we have 3 very powerful video editing tools that use AI to some extent. So I just thought I'd put that in there for those folks who are interested in video editing. To the right, we have Pen Test GPT. This is really interesting. So let me hold off on it. Let me go to the bottom right first. Replica. Replica is it could be eventually a healthcare product. It's essentially an AI companion who cares. You have a hard day at work or a hard weekend. It's the weekend you want to talk to someone. And I imagine there's a fee, and I don't know if they're registered, clinicians or registered counselors, but it's someone you could talk to, whether it's somebody that represented as a friend or as a counselor. I'm not really sure. I haven't played with it. And I think there's a fee. I don't know if there's a free version for that, but Replica replicates obviously a human conversation, so that somebody who is having a bad time of it can talk to somebody online who's really a computer personality. Pen Test GPT gets back to hacking. So there are hackers that are bad people, bad actors, sometimes called black hat hackers, that want to do damage. And then there are white hat hackers or penetration testers. Every company pays for penetration testing. That's why this is called Pen Test GPT. They pay $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 a year to have someone try to penetrate their systems. Now here it's actually an AI tool to help hack. So again, this is good hacking. This is when a professional penetration tester, white hat hacker, is someone who's paid to find vulnerabilities in your company so you could fix them before a real hacker gets in. Unfortunately, all these tools can be leveraged by the black hat hackers, by the hackers who want to do damage. So it's sort of a double-edged sword here. There are tools then that students can use besides generic AI, Cactus, and Socratic by Google. I have run into some students who use these platforms to help them with their homework. And there'll be more, I'm sure, that comes out as AI tries to penetrate more and more into the education industry. Then the bottom left is a product called Poised, and I actually tried it for a while. And what Poised does is real-time feedback. Actually, now Microsoft's Teams does the same thing. I don't know if anyone has noticed that. In Teams, you can be in a online conference, a real-time conference, their version of Zoom. And it'll give you some feedback. You're talking too fast, or whatever they think you're not pronouncing your words clearly enough, or you're using too many technical terms that everyone might not understand. So Poised is an attempt to automate that, to have a product you can use and listen in on your Zooms and give you some feedback. I've tried it in Zoom, and the only feedback I got was that I talk too fast, and it's probably true. But I do know Teams has that now, and I put a little reminder here on the right. Microsoft Teams does the same thing. So this is sort of automating, for those of you who remember Toastmasters, the real in-person groups that would meet and practice together presentations for people who want to they need a real audience, and they want to practice their presentation skills, which I highly recommend to my undergraduates to join a Toastmasters group to get them accustomed to speaking in groups and speaking publicly. For those who are technical and looking to work as a professional programmer or systems architect, I just want to quickly put a plug in for Geeks to Geeks. It's a website, and they have actually some AI tools, and they've built some databases of exams that are given from various companies like Amazon and Samsung, Microsoft, when they do online interviews. They've captured some of their questions somehow, and they're put it in a database. They're helping you really practice for a technical interview. IT, information technology professionals really are interested in this. Well, it's 2024 now, and I hope most educators feel the way I feel, that we should not be telling our students not to use AI. We should be encouraging them to use AI. I think what we should do is make our questions, our problems, our essays, our research papers more complex, a little bit more complex, and tell them to use AI to assist. And if they simply cut and paste, you can pretty much tell just by reading it. You really want to see some analysis. You want to see that it's organized well. So I think that to try to use some of the tools here in the second paragraph to try to catch what's AI generated, what's human generated. There are tools out there that you could take an AI generated output, put it through a tool, and you move the data around a little bit, the wording, and it'll look like it was generated by a human if you test it on it, one of these testing systems. So I think we got to get past all that. Encourage AI. They need it at work. All students should be using it in school, I think, and we should be making our problems, whether it's a word problem or an essay problem or a research project, maybe a little bit more complex, but let them stretch, make that stretch goal using AI to help. All right, I got this letter from a company that I do some consulting work with, and they were referencing an issue that Samsung had. And essentially what this letter really says is, be careful what you put into AI, because you could be putting proprietary information in, you could be putting proprietary information for one of our customers that we do consulting with into AI, and now you don't know where that data is going to end up. And that was what Samsung happened. The programmers happened to Samsung. The programmers were putting in some new code to help debug the new code. And the management realized you're putting new code that's proprietary out on the internet that anyone could potentially have access to. So you have to be really cautious when you're putting something that's very unique to your organization, that might be proprietary. The solution to that is if you really want to use AI, what I recommend to people is get your own instance now. You can, from all these AI platforms, buy your own instance, which means you'll have your own platform that's private. Anything you put into it, you're the only ones who see the output. So that's the solution. Otherwise, you have to be really careful about proprietary information that belongs to your organization or potentially some of your customers that you're asking questions about. So I think it's solved with this private enterprise environment, your own instance. But there are definitely issues with using the generically available platforms that anyone can access, because they can access your data that you enter into the AI platform. So robots are coming, and robots with AI could be a pretty powerful combination. I'm not going to go through videos here, but you can look yourself at particularly Boston Dynamics, which is owned by Google, and also Tesla robot. Tesla, has a Tesla Optimus Spot, I guess it's called. Really impressive demonstrations, particularly with Boston Dynamics. Some really interesting. If you haven't seen them, you might want to take a look, do some internet searches on those robotics. But I think there's a lot of benefit for robotics to do either dangerous tasks or mundane tasks. And I think in healthcare, lots of deliveries happen during the day, whether it's meds or food or supplies. You could have a robot do that in the future and stocking shelves in stores. I think there's a lot of, and as they become more advanced, home health aids potentially. So that's all I'll say on it. You can do some searching on it, but it's definitely coming. I think there are some real opportunities, really just about in every industry, and in particular healthcare as well. Okay, final word about the future of AI. Proceed with caution. And some of these sort of cautionary notes may be futuristic, some may be more temporal and more imminent than we realize. Now, everyone from Elon Musk to Ray Kurzweil has warned about an AI system that could potentially do things to humans or our civilization that are very negative in terms of the impact, whether it's our access to energy or food supplies or something along those lines. But I think that before that happens, before AI becomes conscious of its own existence, let's say, and maybe becomes competitive with us, long before that, I think the bigger concern is, as we get to artificial superintelligence, what's our purpose for living? If you have a super intelligent AI machine that's the best chemist, the best mathematician, the best engineer, the best physician, the best everything, best artist, best musician, what's our purpose in living? Where's our passion? What will we be passionate about anymore? If AI can do everything so much better than we can, and we become relegated almost like a subspecies to AI, because we can't compete with the cognitive and intellectual capabilities of AI. So I think that's more of a concern. I think there may be some obviously jobs that will be lost too in the more imminent future, where AI is going to replace white collar jobs now, as opposed to machines and robotics replacing blue collar jobs. I think we're at a point where white collar jobs, some of them, will become so much more efficient. We'll need fewer white-collar workers in certain disciplines. So those are some concerns. But the thing that's happening now, and this is an optional video, it's about 15 minutes, but there's this concern now of AI totalitarianism being implemented by humans, that humans are manipulating AI to manipulate us. So everyone from Jack Dorsey, who's, if you don't know who Jack Dorsey is, he's one of the founders of Twitter, now X, owned by Elon Musk. Yuval Harari is a pretty well-known Israeli professor who works with the World Economic Forum. I won't get into the details of the pros and cons of the World Economic Forum. But these two, Elon Musk, Robert Epstein, Matt Taibbi, and Mike Schellenberger, you may know who these are. The last 3 or 4 names are very well-known independent journalists. They have their own podcasts. They're not tied to, advertisers, big advertisers like the traditional media. And they have, their reputation is based on being honest and being analytical. So there's a little 15-minute video that's out there on the internet, on YouTube, that has little clips from all these individuals about how we're being manipulated. People are afraid that we're losing our free speech because of the way AI and search engines are being manipulated, that we can't see certain things. We can see certain things. Jack Dorsey goes beyond that and says our free will. We don't even know it, but our free will is being impeded upon by this sort of indoctrination. And I guess you may know that now it's September 2024. I guess you may not have heard, but Telegram, which is a well-known encrypted service, the CEO is arrested in France. Twitter X now is banned in Brazil. Rumble, another free speech platform, is banned in Brazil as well as France. The United Kingdom has managed to sort of persuade Google and YouTube to demonetize one of their own citizens, Russell Brand, who has a political podcast, and I guess they don't like what he says. So there's a lot of censorship going on, and there's this whole concern of our free will and our free speech being impeded upon by the way search engines work, the way AI is working, and you need to be aware of it. This is an optional video. You won't be tested on it, but I think you find it really interesting, this 15-minute video. Similarly, on the bottom left-hand side, there's a Google video that leaked called The Selfish Ledger. I have 2 links here, and again, it'll be in the PDF. And together, they're about 15 minutes. You might want to watch just the first one, where it talks about how Google wants to sort of control humanity by giving them good values, Google values. So it's kind of interesting that it was a sort of a internal lab of Google, and the video leaked out. Again, it's this whole concept of manipulating what people think in terms of what they buy, how they vote, all sorts of things like that. It's interesting. Then we've got the Neuralink chip. You may have heard about the Neuralink patient now. Elon Musk has a company called Neuralink, and they put a chip in a patient in a paraplegic. I think I have a video somewhere later on in the class about this. I'm pretty sure I do. So he's paraplegic, but with the chip in his head through Bluetooth, he can communicate with a computer and move the cursor around on the screen with his mind. Pretty amazing. They've done this with monkeys as well, playing video games. That was the first experiments with Neuralink chips in the monkeys' brains. A lot of videos on the internet you can find on this stuff if you're interested. And of course, there's a whole concept of AI platforms. How are they being created? Are they biased? Are they being manipulated to manipulate a population or a whole community? And then there's the concern, can a hacker get into AI and hack an AI platform, and a hacker, implement algorithms that the owner of that AI platform is not even aware of? So that's, I guess, a concern. It's not an impossible thought. And that's all I really want to say about this. And again, this is more optional. But I think since we're talking about technology and healthcare, certainly mental health and the way our mind works is related to healthcare. So I thought I would include some of this as well in terms of how AI and search engines manipulate what we see and what's censored and what's not censored. And there is a bit more censorship going on too. With the European Union has a few new laws. I teach a couple of classes too in privacy issues, security and privacy issues. I teach a lot of cybersecurity as well. And the European Union is implementing other laws that will affect American companies in terms of censorship, what we can see and not see. So we'll see how that all works out. How well we can sort of mitigate or navigate these new laws that affect all these international companies. This is just a summary of the subjects that we covered in this presentation. Hope you found it informative and interesting. That said, have a great day and thanks for watching.